Can you imagine what it must be like to have an EF5 tornado just ravage your town? It must be just insane. Like just the destruction, like seeing houses that have always been there, like have been there for as long as you can remember, gone. Like just the foundation is like there. There must be very few things that are more shocking than that. Like because here we don't really get tornadoes, if ever. And if we do, they're really small. It's really mind-blowing to know that, wind can do this to a town.
Oh my God, it took the tree!
If there's one date that's almost synonymous with tornado tragedy, it's none other than April 27th, 2011, the peak of the 2011 super outbreak.
There we go, tornado right there doing damage.
On this day, over 224 tornadoes tore across the southeastern United States.
What?
11 tornadoes reached EF4 strength. 4 were classified as the dreaded EF5. It's hard to understand how such a massive and violent phenomenon could unfold in just one day. But what's harder to grasp is the fact that one of the event's deadliest tornadoes remained unnoticed and unremembered for over a decade, forgotten like most of the EF0 twisters that spawned that day. That forgotten tornado was none other than the multi-vortex EF5 tornado that ripped through Rainsville, Alabama, killing 25 people in just 36 minutes.
25 people gone in 26 minutes? That's crazy.
The Rainsville tornado was the most violent of the entire 2011 super outbreak, yet it faded from public memory, remembered only by those who lived it. But today, that changes. After all the trauma, damage, and loss it caused, Rainsville's 2011 tornado should never again be just a side note. Even if it's just one chapter in one of the deadliest weather disasters in US history, it deserves its own spotlight. The 2011 super outbreak was a weather event that nobody, not even the top-tier meteorologists, fully anticipated. But it certainly did not come without warning.
Look at that.
During the first 2 weeks of April 2011, there were already over 100 recorded tornadoes across the United States. For context, the usual average number of tornadoes during this stretch of the spring season is well below half that, typically ranging from 30 to 50. All the signs that April and May of 2011 were shaping up to be more aggressive than usual were there. Tornadoes were touching down back-to-back by mid-April, and tornado warnings were being issued left and right. Days before the main event, this is what meteorologists were already saying.
In day 6, which is Wednesday, could be an issue here, as you'll see. That's a pretty good-looking severe weather setup for
Dude, I can't even make sense of this. Like, what does the yellow mean?
April in Alabama.
And just the day before, April 27, here's a creepy statement from James Spann, ABC 3340's chief meteorologist.
I could show you these all day. We've looked at a lot of things. Clearly, synoptically speaking, everything is in place for a red letter severe weather day. Potential for violent long-track tornadoes.
When the target day in question,
So he predicted it. Like, he knew it was going to happen.
Wednesday, April 27th came, James Spann's feared outcomes came into reality. As predicted, all modes of severe weather occurred that day. Hail, damaging straight-line winds, and a devastating outbreak of tornadoes. The ingredients in the atmosphere were textbook perfect for a major outbreak. A low-pressure system was deepening across the entire U.S. Warm, moist air was surging northward, fueling the storms. The atmosphere grew increasingly unstable. In northeast Alabama, CAPE values were at their highest. Mesoanalysis was showing that northeast Alabama had some of the strongest spin in the atmosphere. The first tornadoes struck as early as April 25th, and by April 27th, atmospheric conditions turned from bad to the worst-case scenario for the Southeast. More particularly for the state of Alabama, where 62 tornadoes wreaked havoc in just 24 hours.
Jesus, 62 in a day. Oh my God. Like, in these kind of areas, do you reckon the cost of like property and stuff is lower because of the risk of, tornado activity.
Early morning of the 27th,
Oh my God.
news stations were already covering the devastation caused by severe thunderstorms. The entire state of Alabama was on high alert. Rainsville was one of the many towns affected by power outages due to these severe storms. And as the day progressed, the storms in the area only became more intense. By 3 p.m., meteorologists started receiving twister touchdown reports from their skywatchers.
All right, we've got reports of debris falling out of the sky in Macon, Mississippi. Oh, goodness.
By 3:05 p.m., the tornado touched down near Marion County, Alabama. It would soon become the infamous EF5 Hackleburg-Phil tornado that tracked across multiple counties for over 2 hours and killed dozens. Around 3:42 p.m., Smithville was battling its own EF5, causing catastrophic destruction and multiple fatalities. By 4:43 p.m., the Tuscaloosa-Birmingham tornado touched down and caused widespread devastation and mass casualties in just a matter of minutes.
This one looks huge, doesn't it? Like, it's almost taking up the whole picture.
It was an intense EF4. Before the clock struck 6 p.m., Alabama was already hit by an onslaught of ruined homes, rising death tolls, and shattered communities. The news was already so focused on the earlier devastations. So, while tornado warnings were issued for Rainsville by 6:13 p.m., at this point, it seemed like there could be nothing worse than the destruction already being broadcast. And, unfortunately, little attention was given to the storm quietly crawling its way toward Rainsville.
Here's that storm with a history of producing a tornado. Crossville at 619, Geraldine 619, Fife 627, Rainsville 631, and Fort Payne 636.
6:19 p.m., April 27th, 2011. The Rainsville twister began forming just east of Lakeview, Alabama. At first, it was barely visible, just a thin, spinning funnel dipping from a wall cloud. But in a video shot by Tony Walls, you can see just how fast this invisible column morphed. Within seconds, it splits into multiple subvortices, like a monster tearing itself apart, only to grow stronger. And it did, grow way stronger in just seconds. The tornado pulsed between EF2 and EF5 strength, feeding off a volatile atmosphere churning with wind shear and instability. As it stabilized, it moved northeast, like many of that day's long-track tornadoes, heading toward Shiloh, Alabama. This is where it peaked in violent intensity, and when some of the rarest footage of the Rainsville tornado was captured. This video shows the tornado's full size, a churning black wedge swallowing the landscape it walks on.
Wow.
From Shiloh, the twister roared northeast towards Rainsville, gaining even more power before it entered the residential area. By the time it hit town, it was already rocking stable EF3 winds. As it crawled toward homes, roofs peeled back, cars flew like toys, and whole
Jesus.
chunks of asphalt were stripped from roads. A school bus was lifted out of the lot,
Oh my God, hopefully there were no kids in this one.
stripped down to its bare frame, and slammed back to the earth in pieces. It became one of the most viral images that proves Rainsville's devastation that day. As the twister tore through the east of Rainsville, the tornado jumped into EF4 strength. Plainview High School was flattened, strip mall stores vanished, and power flashes lit up the sky as transformers blew. Just past town along Skaggs Road, the twister hit its absolute peak, full EF5 fury. Solid multi-story brick
Wow,
homes
look
were
at
ripped
this.
clean off their foundations and
Oh
hurled hundreds of
my
yards
God.
away. Entire driveways were stripped of asphalt, and concrete patios were shattered into fragments, damages that even the deadliest EF4s had never produced before. Even more shocking, an 800-pound safe, anchored deep in the ground, flew through the air like a balloon. And if
Unreal.
you think that's already mind-blowing, think again. Because at the very same property where the safe took flight, an underground storm shelter, used as designed at the time, was also heaved out of the earth. Its doors were blown off and twisted. But luckily, the tornado passed before it could rip the people inside the already open storm shelter.
Very lucky. Very lucky.
The whirlwind then barreled into Sylvania and Eider, still at EF5 force. This is the moment Callan Wold began recording this video, capturing a massive wall of debris and cloud swallowing the landscape. Mobile homes disappeared without a trace, and trees were left standing like smooth white poles, no leaves or branches in sight. Though little to no footage of the tornado exists.
Wow, look at this. This looks like a house or like a motorhome or one of those, homes that you can like move and then plant down. It's completely lifted off the foundation. That's insane.
After this point, the aftermath evidence shows just how powerful the winds remained, continuing to rip away homes, take lives, and flatten entire neighborhoods until the tornado finally lifted. Just after 7 p.m., the tornado crossed into Georgia north of Rising Fawn and faded away over open fields. After 36 minutes, it left a 36-mile path of destruction that no one in DeKalb County will ever forget. While the tornado's fury was unfolding in Rainsville, most people, even meteorologists far from the area, had no idea what was happening. That's because just minutes before the supercell entered DeKalb County, the KHTX radar site, which was tracking the storm,
was
went
taken
down.
out. Oh,
Meteorologists
no. So they had no way of like knowing what was going on.
And residents alike were forced to rely on much more distant and much lower resolution radar. And if it hadn't been for last-minute decisions to treat every storm in the outbreak as life-threatening, it's possible that no tornado warnings would have been issued for this monster heading straight at town. Unlike in Tuscaloosa, where meteorologists and officials were updating minute by minute where the tornado went, who it hit, and who was injured, the Rainsville tornado was born, wreaked havoc, and lifted in silence like a ghost. So when it came time for search and rescue efforts, the situation was far from being coordinated or informed. To find survivors, first responders and volunteers literally followed the tornado's visible scoured path, combing through debris and ruins. They found homes stripped bare to their foundations, flipped cars, ghost-like communities.
Man, it's just, I've seen a few tornado videos in my day, but it never gets old seeing how much havoc they can cause. Like, this is a pickup truck. It's like probably 3-4 ton vehicle, mangled.
On one hand, they were hoping to find survivors, but at the same time, half fearing they might only find the dead. Those found alive were rushed to nearby hospitals. Those who were in critical condition were transferred to larger facilities, such as Birmingham. In total, the Rainsville tornado claimed 35 lives, but there's very little information or specifics on how or where these lives were lost. If Rainsville had been a denser community, this storm may have stolen more
Way
lives,
more.
considering that its winds reached over 200 miles per hour. The Rainsville tornado may have been overshadowed by other high-profile twisters from the same day it spawned. But DeKalb County will never forget the devastation caused by this tornado. Over 12,000 homes were damaged.
Oh
301
my God.
were completely destroyed. Over 150.
And who pays for that? It's probably just the people who own the house, right? Probably very little government money that's going to help with that.
Mobile homes were damaged. 78 were gone. 46 businesses suffered major damage, and 19 were wiped out entirely. Over 600 combined barns and chicken houses, sources of livelihood, were damaged. It's estimated that the locals' total losses topped $10 million. But there's a glimmer of hope in this story. Fortunately, even when few seemed to notice Rainsville during the actual tornado destruction, financial aid and disaster relief poured in once news of the town's devastation finally spread.
Awesome. I mean, because it's not their fault, is it?
After a state of emergency was declared, Rainsville gained access to critical federal aid, bringing much-needed disaster relief faster to the victims who had lost everything. Rescue squads cleared highways and country roads, ASAP, making way for emergency vehicles and supplies. Multiple staging areas were set up and distributed across the county, which made it easier for residents to access necessities like water, food, and medications. Mass feeding operations were established, where over 100,000 hot meals were served throughout the span of rescue operations. Volunteers flocked to help however they could, and up to this day, you can find the DeKalb County Tornado Memorial standing in Rainsville, where the names of the 2011 tornado victims are engraved. April
Wow.
27th.
Oh my God. That's insane. 12,000 homes like damaged severely. That is like the size of like a decent sized town, pretty much. All of the houses just flattened and stuff. It's mad. You just got to hope that, you know, today that everything's kind of back to normal. I mean, it's been 14 years since then, so you would think that things would be back to normal, but there's places where, you know, like I think Hurricane Katrina, like areas like that are still like recovering. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.